back to another trek through the dungeon. So I've been told, and I've noticed that there is a focus lately about summoners in some segments of our crawl community, specifically how summoner is the easiest background, best background, or what have you, especially for frail races. Now, I'm not going to argue that summoner is anything other than a reasonable choice. It's a very powerful thing to do. The idea that you spend your mana and you get a persistent effect that can be used defensively and offensively, it's obviously got value. But I do not believe summoner is inherently better than another opener. I think that rather learning to play an opener, any opener, makes you better at that opener. And until you've taken the time to learn to play something, it's of course going to seem bad or worse or weaker. And the better you are at playing it, the better it will seem to you. So, in the spirit of that, I'm going to over-explain or attempt to over-explain some of the tactics I'm using as an Octopode Air Elementalist, bearing in mind that I still consider myself relatively new to version 0.29. I only have a couple wins under my belt, and I have only just started playing newer versions after 0.26, first to experience the Djinn and then to experience Stormform. But let's begin with the obvious. The first and most important thing you can do in the early dungeon, in the early game, is figure out what you do to kill things and maximize it. Now, my starting book gives me damage on a line with Zap, multi-target damage with Zap, multiple single strike targets with Zap. It gives me melee AoE with Static Discharge. It gives me an escape tool with Swiftness and a remote heavy damage tool with Airstrike, all of which require certain positional setups, which means I have to position myself so my enemies position themselves. All of them require air. The first two require conjurations, the latter don't. To train a level 1 spell to high power, you don't need as much as you would for a level 2 or 3 skill. Therefore, I am going to focus on air only, because that's going to help with my shock, which will need less of it, my swiftness and airstrike, which benefit only from it, and Static Discharge is the weakest of these opening spells on a melee naive character like an Octopode. Now, if I was playing a race that had a AC of 10 to start the game with, or 5, and then I can wear all of my armor slots to boost it further, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, let's call it, just out the door, then you can talk about getting into melee, taking a few hits, and being okay. But the Octopode is almost always going to have this weakness in place, and so intentionally choosing... Oh, I see someone's here from Twitch. Air and welcome. So intentionally choosing to pick a spell that puts me in melee is risky. Another huge nerf that the game has thrown at us is this attacks of opportunity nonsense. Because being in melee means you can't disengage without taking a 1 in 5 of the times punch to the face, and because you can't mitigate that damage because your AC is 1, it's even more reason to engage in melee only, begrudgingly. Now, Static Discharge still has its place as an endgame tool, as a, I'm here, I may as well tool, but I try not to lean on it for those reasons. Also, it's self-damaging, which, early game is even more dangerous. Next thing I'll point out is slow and steady and dungeon structure. Right off the bat, I have something. You should look at every tool at your disposal. The most dangerous part of the game is the beginning, where you have virtually no tools to defend yourself, no training, or minimal training in your important skills, and you're most reliant on whatever class you've chosen. It doesn't matter if... I'm planning to play this game as a transmuter, but with unarmed combat, but that doesn't really affect the opener. The opener is what you choose the opener to be. I can reach that mid and end game transmuter state from any opener that I can survive long enough with. If you open as a summoner, you're going to have to know the summoner tactics. If you're opening as a blaster caster, conjurator, mephitic stabber, brute, melee brute, you need to know the tactics. Looking at the layout of this early dungeon, I see that I'm going to have a hard time landing multi-zap damage on enemies that are in the same rows as me, but when I get out from here to here, I'm going to be able to get double damage when they're here and here for 1 or 2 zaps, or potentially if they're coming at me from below and I can come up to here, I can bounce shots off the wall to get double zaps in. My airstrikes can be reasonable in this space, but I doubt I reach airstrike level. And I have one potential safe retreat downstairs. Now, I have experienced way too many times in these later versions that going downstairs is not as safe as it used to be, so I am not necessarily going to treat that as a... Ordinarily, in like version 0.6, I would go downstairs now, make sure it was safe, and come back up. Because of how badly I've seen things go in version 0.9, I'm going to assume it's not safe and use it as a, is it less safe than where I am upstairs? So, let's very carefully explore a couple tiles at a time. And considering that I am on a streak here, so my most recent game from Bounty Alt was an OpAE, and it was, of course you can't use a dot here. And my most recent game, as you can see, he escaped with 5 runes. And my most recent game here for OpAE was also a ascended octopode with 4 runes. So I'm kind of on a pseudo streak, I guess, since it's split between 2 accounts. It doesn't technically count. But I wasn't recording that Bounty Alt 1. I wanted to leave my Bounty Hunter channel open for continued recordings. Here's an interesting situation. Do you keep going forward this way, or do you go back? The way I like to think of it is I have a safe retreat here, potentially. The further away I am from safety, the more dangerous exploration becomes. So I'm going to now back off, go back to my safety, and explore the other side. This is not how you minimize your turn count and maximize your score. This is how you minimize your risk and maximize your streak. You see a teleport trap here. This is another reasonable retreat safety if I need to use it at some point in the future. So effectively extending my radius. We take the door here because I want enemies to fight me in this area if possible. And because I can close the door on a host of enemies that an early dungeon can't hurt me. Our first catch of the day. I think I zap him from full screen range. It hits him, he gets some damage, and then we make decisions. I can retreat all the way back to here to recharge 1 MP if I have to. We got a hit. We could go down to 1 MP, or we could back off, try to go up to 3 and hit him again. I think we can do more damage than this with 1 shot, but I'm going to take a second shot simply because there's no other enemies visible. That missed. Now we're just going to get out of dodge. We've done enough that he should follow us. We're going to stay here at nearest screen max because we want to try to get the double zap when he comes back at us. And we're going to aim at the wall above him so that it bounces into the wall and hits him twice, potentially. Okay, we got him. First kill of the day. We are halfway to level, or 1/5 of the way to level 2. And I gotta say, I don't usually talk all of this out. I often am just auto-traveling or rapidly playing. But for people who aren't regularly getting through the early game, or who feel the need to play something more quote-unquote safe, explaining my rationale does make sense. This looks like a good double zap opportunity. Didn't get this at double because he died too fast. Okay, a new thought. What do you do with these scrolls? You have a higher probability of getting identify scrolls early on and often and in general than you do of getting acquirement scrolls. I hope that's obvious. I don't know the exact percentages, but as a rule of thumb, I would say blinking scrolls and acquirement scrolls are relatively rare. And identify and teleport scrolls feel relatively common. Butterfly/fog scrolls would be above average, middling. How they feel, I don't know if they really are. And the way that I abuse or use this is right off the bat. If I have one of a scroll, I almost never read it because I don't have any meaningful information for what it is. One, so I can't, I have no reason to believe it's an acquirement or something that would be valuable even as a one-off read. Oh, let's bounce shot this guy. Didn't see, it didn't fire, back off, fully regenerate my mana, come back into range. He didn't wake up, so I got a freebie. Now he's awake. That was nearly as meaningless as a miss. It was a double zap that missed. I don't take a second pot shot here. If I did, I would go into melee range with him, and then I would have to deal with him in melee range, running away the whole distance. Instead, I'm going to use the distance I have and the time to get closer to my safeties, my relative safeties, and set him up for double attacks. I think we can get one more backup in and still have him in perfect double strike radius. Reverting to my prior topic of conversation. What was I talking about? I was talking about survival, identify game. I want to use my ID scrolls to identify my resources. If I have 5 of something, it's probably the identify scroll. So that's kind of what I do is I wait for the 1 or 2 floors in, and that's when I start identifying by reading the thing I have the most of. Secondly, potions. You probably want to identify potions early. Heal and heal wounds are the most important resources that I don't know what they are now, followed closely by teleport and blinking for survival and getting out of trouble.
All right, interesting use case. Here is a jackal. I could take a double shot at him and probably hurt him, maybe kill him. But jackals come in sets of 4, typically. If I take a pot shot here and go down to 2 mana and start running away, and then they catch up to me, they're going to bite and bully me all the way through this hallway and very possibly kill me before I get a full recharge off. Maybe I kill 2 or 3 of them, but that just means one of them wins. So I'm actually going to take advantage of the fact that they didn't wake up to look for softer prey to try and get to level 2 and double my mana capacity. Backing away. This is softer prey. Even if he wakes up, he's not going to kill me. Typically. Now we have another staircase to retreat to, so our safeties are growing. We'll zap that guy with a double bounce, and another double bounce. And now we're going to risk just strangling him in melee because, we are quite strong with our auxiliary attacks. Okay, there was a python. We woke him up and backed off too fast. That's fine. We're going to back off till he's positioned against the wall, and then we'll double zap him a couple times to finish the job. We can memorize static discharge here. And it might be the right thing to do. I am not going to tell you this from a teaching you how to play perspective, but rather from a making you aware of options perspective, that you probably want to use everything the dungeon gives you, including the opening spells this early. The reason I'm specifically not taking static discharge is swiftness as an escape spell is hugely valuable to me, and airstrike as my ultimate kill converter and kill spell. I'm probably going to gain 3 experience levels by then, plus 3 spell levels, give or take. So that's just enough to get swiftness and airstrike with no cross-training into spellcasting. I would rather have the spell levels for these spells than have them tied up in what at this level is a bit overkill. I'd rather use my zaps to aim for double and triple strike than my static discharge. Also, with my mana so low, if I fire a static discharge and it misfires or it misses the enemy or doesn't deal much damage, 2 mana will rip the gas out of my tank. 1, I get multiple attempts, and each double zap is even more of a multiple attempt. We just received the starting book of another class. This is the best thing that can happen to you early game. I'm gonna save and quit and open this again in a second to explain this because I want to look at the list of classes. And the best way I know to do that is to open the game start, but pick background first. Okay. When you think of the core mages and how they break down, some of them are better for utility and defense, some are better for survival, some are better for offense. Similar logic applies in a warrior's context, but let's just stick to mages for now. Hedge Wizard has high utility, the ability to drop confusion on AoE on enemies that are poison resistant while blinking away, putting a summon between you and your enemy, etc. What they lack for is direct damage. Conjure Flame used to be very strong and still limited. Now it requires 3 to 6 mana to even trigger, or setting up a huge preamble with an open hallway that you get lucky to position. And even if you do everything right with it, it just fizzles out. So it's not great in isolation. Summon Imp doesn't tend to deal as much damage as it does Harass and Distract. Really, Magic Dart is what you're on, and after floor 1 through 4, even 1 through 3,
tapers off significantly in value. So with a hedge wizard, you're high on utility, low on direct offensive ability. I don't know how they've changed necromancers, so I'm not going to comment, but I can tell you in old Crow, IE version 0.26 and below, Pain as a starting spell is great for direct damage against a certain segment of the enemies and useless against others. Freeze is in a similar bucket where undead, which are populous in the early game, and certain ice resistant enemies, freeze does nothing to them. When I think high utility, Hedge Wizard comes to mind, as I mentioned. I also would consider Ice to be moderate utility because of Ozokubu's armor, which can be very defensively effective, as well as the Frozen Ramparts, which can set you up for area of effect success early on, but whole swaths of the population resist your damage. Venom Mage, absolutely the same boat. You got Mephitic Cloud for a great defensive ability. You've got Sting for a strong poisoning ability. You've got in the old days Ogreb's Toxic Radiance for AoE damage, and you even had Ignite Poison to blow them all up with fire. But if your enemy couldn't be poisoned, huge swaths of the population, by the way, resist poison. Suddenly, all of that, you've got nothing you can do to them. You're just a slap fight tickler. So this is kind of how they break down in my head. Fire Elementalist is the opposite extreme. All damage, no utility. Right? You've got your... now they've added the ability to Searing Ray away some fire defense, I guess. But you've got no escapes, you've got no armor buffs, you've got no dodge, you've got no Code of Fire, bounce all attacks against enemies and they burn if they touch you or anything like that. All you've got is kill everything fast with prejudice. When you look at the Air Elementalist, I put them in a similar, not the same, similar category as Fire. They have Swiftness, which is an escape ability, and that is their only utility. Other than that, they're damage on a line, damage in AO, damage along a line, damage at smite range, and direct damage with zapping. The static discharge. Difference is Fire Elemental and Air Elemental, while technically resisted by electricity and fire resist respectively, their resistance is far less common in the early game because all the undead don't have it relative to, say, ice and poison. So where am I going with all of this? If you can get the starting book of the wizard while you're playing as a fire mage, you get the best utilities along with the best damages, and suddenly you can deal with far more scenarios. If you're playing the Air Elementalist and you get a Summoner opener book, like some dumb octopus just did over here. Who am I thinking of? I don't know. Oh, this guy. I have the potential now to swing on my summonings, or eventually swing summonings, maybe Transspell cast it to make them both more castable. And now I can throw out Call Canine Familiar at moderate power as an escape tool, right? I'm blasting away with Zap, and I drop a Canine Familiar to chump block for me while I get out of the way. I'm using airstrikes to peg far off targets while the Canine Familiar acts as a bodyguard. This kind of synergy is amazing when you get it, but the goal shouldn't be to get it. Oh, and hello to our new viewer on Twitch. Welcome. This is an over-explained/analyzed opener. Sorry if it's too tedious. So what I'm thinking is that your goal should not be to get a second book. Rather, you should thank your lucky stars when it happens and make use of it, but not go in gambling on it. In this situation, I am going to continue to focus air magic for two reasons. One, because it's not yet at a stage that I'm happy with it. And two, because the point of this particular run is educational. And if the only reason I do well is because I got a lucky start with a book on D1 that happens to be a starter book of another class that happens to complement my utility needs, that's not going to be as educational. Okay, we have revealed a dart slug. Dart slugs are slow moving, therefore easy to get away from. They have untyped damage in their dart, and they deal quite a bit of it. I should be able to tank one hit at level 2, but not two. Slug dart is a 2d6, so it looks like I can actually avoid. I can actually take a couple of them, but probably not a whole lot more than that. If, on the other hand, my attack hits, I'm going to kill this thing quickly. So I'm going to take some pot shots before backing off, is the strategy here. You'll notice I'm not going for double and triple strikes. It's because in this case, staying out of dart range is more important, and leaving myself the retreat is more important than trying to optimize my zap power. This is a triple zap if I ever saw one, or sorry, double zap if I ever saw one. It's also worth noting that the value of being level 2 this early on is in that I can specifically go out of my way to do that. I have the extra mana. Whip of Venom. Now we're cooking with gas. Whips are slightly slower than doing a dagger attack, or at this stage of the game, or I would even guess an unarmed attack. Yeah, slightly slower. But poison is such a valuable brand against early game, especially when you didn't open as a poisoner. So I'm going to hang on to this for when those pesky I get into melee situations and run out of mana, but I still need this target dead. Okay. We are very cautiously, not auto-exploring, but revealing tiles as we go to make sure that we are not giving up any freebies. We now have multiple downstairs as safe retreats. We're going to continue to hug this one. I shouldn't say safe retreats, as potentially safe retreats. Max distance, good enough. 2 at a time. I want to get a double zap where I hit them both. If they both come at me directly, that should be possible. So I'm going to stand my ground here. Here it's too good to pass up. We take the double shot. Now we should be able to, line up a shot that includes both of them. And finish the job. Backing off. Always back up into the known territory so that you're less likely to chase after something into the unknown. Wow, Book of Callings twice on the same floor. Shafted! This is another important experience that's going to happen to you. You will always be shafted at some point or the other in the dungeon. And when it happens, you have a top priority, which is to be unshafted. Do not hesitate to use every resource to accomplish this, because you are in enemy territory and underpowered. This would be a time where I would memorize small mammal just to have it teed up. But with the fail at something in the teens, right? 19%. It's not likely to save me. It's likely to rob me of all of my remaining mana, so there's no point in going for it. Very cautious. If we can hit level 3, we'll get Swiftness, and one escape spell can go a long way at this stage of the game. Hey, we found another downstairs. Fun fact, you can consider using that downstairs to save yourself if the shafting puts you in a bad situation where what you're up against now is definitely going to kill you. What you're going to face downstairs will probably kill you, but it's different than will definitely kill you. So far, so good, duking it out in the holes and winning. I'm getting a little lazy and starting to use auto travel just to make it more convenient. You have to understand that I already know auto travel is going to keep me in this direction because of how little space it has to choose from. What do we got here? I think we need to zap him to wake him up, but we're going to also want to not let him chase us much, so we're going to back off to maximum vision distance and then do it, buying us 2 extra turns, potentially. And that could have been important if, the moment he woke up, 3 enemies that we couldn't see also started following him, then suddenly every turn really does count. Intelligence boost will boost our power and castability, so it's the obvious choice. Swiftness is now on the table. Airstrike will not be on the table if we take Swiftness. I'm going to start trickling into spellcasting so that I get the extra spell level, and in order to cross-train my others. Now, situational. Do you go upstairs here or don't you? If you are way out of your depth, usually the answer is yes. If not,
showing up in a random position on D1 may or may not be worse than exploring D2 till I have a safe up and down spot. Either way, this becomes my new retreat point, because I would rather take an unknown path up than a retreatable but unknown path down. It is almost certainly safe to go back to D1 at this stage, but, you know. Right, we're doing it. D1, take me back. Oh, you don't know how to go there. Of course not. Okay, now that we've cleared out part of D2, we know we're stronger than D1, so now I feel comfortable with auto-explode clearing it up, including, yes, dealing with these jackals. How do I deal with them? Let's do the same thing we did before. We're going to maximize our vision, or sorry, our distance, and only then do we start fighting them. Now, why am I not going to take a second shot? Because I know for a fact that there are 3 of them, right? And they're all going to follow me any second. So I want all of them here in order to all take shots. You'll notice I'm also going for the double bounces. It didn't work out the way I thought. I was too stealthy, but that's actually better for me that they come in piecemeal. Now this guy will be set up for double zaps the whole time, and it won't matter. Zap, 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 zap. Back off, back off. Okay, good. What's next? Full distance is exactly how I want to fight a dart slug, so it's kind of the optimal setup. And we're done. We have cleared D1, and we are part of the way through D2, and we are well on our way to airstrike capability. And this is the longest I've ever taken doing one floor, but I hope something that I said is going to pay off for someone. I don't think we get a double zap on him no matter what, so we'll just shoot him in the face. Zap, 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 zap. Standing my ground on the staircase when I go downstairs is one of my favorite things to do as a mage. I have maximal spell power, I can go full out for broke on anything that comes at me, and I can instantly go upstairs for full heals and full mana as long as I do it early enough. We still have only one of each scroll. Even if I were to read ID them and they were very useful things to me, all that means is I don't get to keep those very useful things, right? With the exception of, I want to say, acquirement. Let's say that it's a blink and a teleport and a magic map. Okay, well, I don't get to keep the blink, I don't get to keep the teleport, and I didn't want the magic map at this floor. So now I've given up those scrolls. I seldom see a value in reading a singleton when you're read IDing. I only read ID doubles or better, unless there's a special circumstance. Like I'm fishing for something and I just need to get it, even if it's only one of it. Potions, for example, when I'm fishing for a mutation potion. All right, we're definitely going to zap you to death. Here, a poison whip is better. Okay. We now pick up another book, and this is unfortunately one of the classes I know the least about how to play well, the Hexer. I'm not saying Hexers are bad. I just think I'm bad. I just don't think that they're very good. Okay, we have all 3 staircases, so triple dipping, i.e. going up and down on all 3 stairs is already done for us. But now all the enemies that, if there was an enemy that I found on D1, I'm almost certainly comfortable taking it on D2, because I've become way more powerful. Why am I carrying a War Axe of Holy Wrath? There are some enemies that are not going to die to my toolbox easily. The Phantom, Grinder, these kinds of guys. If I want to use a potion of Berserk Rage, Haste, Might, just to become temporarily a Firestorm in not Firestorm, a Firebrand in melee, it pays to have a weapon that can take advantage of that. Now, I would not consider a War Axe untrained a good weapon or a good weapon choice. But under those narrow circumstances, I see the value. We just got access to our airstrike, and airstrike is going to carry us for a lot of this game. Hand axe of freezing. Okay, good. So now I have a bandolier of weapons. I have freezing and venom, which should cover a nice swath of enemies that aren't undead. I've got my primary electric attack and my secondary airstrike, which is a untyped, I believe, attack. And that's all good. Floor is cleared. We're ready to do D3. Now is our first chance to look at the minigame of IDing. We have twofer on potions, which very well could be curing, because curing is more common than average, I think.
and a 2 for on scroll, so now we read this even if it's wrong. It was a teleport scroll. I hate to waste one, but now we know how to teleport, and that could save our life down the road. We're going to poke our nose on all 3 doors, or 1 door at a time until such time as we find good openers. Okay, this game just feels intent on giving me everything. Ignite Poison is an amazing ability. Even if you don't have the means of poisoning a target with your standard weaponry, you deal a lot of damage when poison is ignited on a fire vulnerable or even a fire neutral enemy. And if you have poison darts, a poison whip, confuse ability like Mephitic Cloud, which turns into poison clouds, Irina's Bog, then Ignite Poison works just fine on all of those. So Ignite Poison is a huge boot to have in my arsenal. Sticky Flame I avoid. It's probably fine on a non-octopus in many situations, but on an octopus specifically, where you don't want to be in melee in the beginning anyway, I would avoid it. Also, Ignite Poison is a transmutation ability, so if I do get a transmutation, if the dungeon offers me a strong form to enter, whether Statue, Dragon, or Storm, I would consider training transmutation so that I get the cross-training benefits, or the side benefit of being able to use Ignite Poison while I'm at it. Okay, we got our first ring of the game, huh? I can't wait to find out what it is. Why am I not going to walk right here? Because you always try to explore from the known into the unknown. 1. 2, what if in this spirit, whereas a storm dragon, here there's a an invisible thing, an unknown horror. If the storm dragon approaches me and shocks me, right now, I have all this space to run to. If I'm here and I get cut off from my retreat, I'm going to be forced into the open dungeon, and God knows where I'll end up or what I'll be pincered by. So that's why my instinct is to be skittish and double check the known first. Even though that ring is right there, I'll get there when I get there. In the meantime, okay, we're taking serious damage. We're going to back up. Did we memorize Swiftness? We neglected to memorize Swiftness. That was a huge faux pas. We're going to get the double shot because we have to. We are still taking huge damage now. I'm going to test drink a potion or 2 because I really do want to have a little more HP to deal with these guys. Any potion that has a 2 of has a higher probability of being what I need. We're going to go for a double zap. I think that we can do that. And now on a line to finish the target. Great. Double zap and run away. We succeeded there specifically because we took the time to position ourselves from known to unknown over and over and over and over. But I'm sure you can see how easily we could have been pincered or caught off guard if we hadn't pre-explored behind us and made sure that this was a safe retreat harbor. If you only take one tactic away from all that we are learning today, that's the one to remember. That you always, always, always go from known to unknown, not from unknown into the more unknown. And the more you can follow through on that, the better. I can't memorize Swiftness yet. I don't have the levels, but this guy should help me get there because he can't actually hurt me unless he's in melee, and I don't have to let him get that close. I want to hit both with each blast, and eventually they will succumb. Spellcasting has a side benefit here. Air Elementalist is a gas guzzler as far as mages go. It's not that you cast one spell and it holds you in good stead for an hour. Rather, especially early on, you need to cast your zap, then you need to cast an air storm, and then you need to cast another cast of air storm, and that's 10 mana to kill a single target. So, you want extra mana. I don't feel comfortable with my mana total until I can 5 cast a spell. Now I feel like we've done our due diligence on both sides, so now let's go for the ring. See what a wide swath of dungeon we've evaluated to make sure this is okay. And hey, it was a useless ring to me, so good. It's a good thing we didn't invest too hard in running to it. I really should have been airstriking him here instead of zapping him. I'm still going to take him down with zaps. It's just going to take longer. Here we get an airstrike. 22% chance to miscast. Instead, it's an instant kill. If you're somebody who really gets into guides and hyperbole about how something is the best thing ever, 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 then consider this your hyperbole moment for airstrike. In every situation where Zap is strong, your enemy is curled up against a wall and then coming down a narrow hallway with two behind him. Airstrike is weak. You don't want to use airstrike on an enemy surrounded by 3 walls and adjacent to his ally. In every situation where airstrike is strong, enemy is off the wall right here in the middle of all this air, Zap tends to be weak. There's not as much to bounce off of, to double bounce him. Because of this, the two complement each other very nicely. And airstrike in particular can be incredibly lethal at range, which is where an octopus wants to keep its targets. I already have my ID scroll ID'd. So at this point, anything I read to ID it, right? Ooh, how did he do that? He had a potion of invisibility, that's fine. Anything I read in order to ID it, it's not going to be the ID. Wait, no, I never got an ID scroll, did I? I don't think I ever did. Yeah, I never got an ID scroll. Okay, so we'll read the double. Do not read unknown scrolls on an unknown floor. Go upstairs, read it, come back. It's a good habit. It's not strict. It's not a strict rule, but it's a very good habit. Okay, see, I miscast. I'm going to run away and get all my mana back before I try again. Now we try again. Rather than approach here so that he can approach here so that we're locked in melee combat, I'm going to back off and let him come to me. Now we can start really pounding him with the zaps. Double. And kill. We got an extra curing up our sleeves. You know, when you fought a hobgoblin on D1, it was scary. When you fight a hobgoblin on D2 and 3, you've outpaced it. And that's exactly why that fight was as straightforward as it was, because we've outpaced that fight. We're above that part of the power curve now. Swiftness is still not memorizable, so it's not memorized yet. Still no doubles on scrolls. We do have doubles on potions. We could test drink to try to find heal wounds, but I consider heal wounds valuable enough that I wouldn't want to give up even one of them. This guy is a prime airstrike target, but not in prime position. We're going to zap him once to get him to move towards us off the wall, and then we'll airstrike him to death immediately. Interestingly enough, he was in prime position, but we didn't know that at the time. I go down, we back off. See, I could have stood here and hit 5 to renew my mana. Instead, I came back here and then hit 5 to renew my mana. Just in case, something else decides to wander in and I get stuck in a chain fight that takes time and time and time before it ends. I have a bandolier of different branded weapons now. Not that they'll ever actually be used, most likely, but I have options. Blood, Wereblood, Hydra. This is a good time for an airstrike. Okay. You could make the argument, I'm not, but you could, that I should cancel air at this stage and go full tilt summoner. Call Canine Familiar with a battery of firepower to be contended with. Summon Hydra is enough to get me through all of Lair if I use it in conjunction with Hydra plus minus the... if I use it with Canine Familiar plus minus the Guardian Golem for safety. Here's the rub. I already have invested a fair amount of early game experience into air magic, and my airstrike isn't optimized yet. I haven't hit a ceiling for what airstrike can accomplish. This was a bad choice. You don't want that dispersal trap to activate, because for all you know, the enemies you couldn't see are now surrounding you afterwards. I did not have to let that happen, so that was a misplay on my part that allowed that to happen. We can airstrike these guys individually, and then use the fact that we've hugged the stairs to go back, get our health back, and then airstrike what's left. I aim for 7 or 8 bonus tiles on each airstrike, typically. I don't think it's powerful enough with 3 or less. But with 8 or more, it's just so good. Okay, so far so good. Notice that I'm taking steps to reposition them on a line so that I can get the double zaps in. Alright, we're golden. Airstrike opener, when it doesn't cast right, get the MP back, and then airstrike opener. Okay, this necrophage is interesting. I cannot kill him with zaps. It will take at least 5 or 6. He'll be meleeing me before that happens. I could destroy him with an airstrike. So the first thing I'm going to do is break LOS so that he doesn't see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to go the long way around so that I can come at him from above. Above, I can see how many open tiles there are. Oh, let's move the chittering quokka. And now I can convince him to come directly towards me through all of these open tiles. I'm going to double airstrike. But most importantly, if it didn't work, I have this much of an air gap to run to the stairs using. And that's the key. I'm always thinking in terms of my getaway plan. At least in the early game before I have a living plan. I have no interest in Wujanism. I have every interest in not dying. Let's go to D4. Odd circle of statues. This is a great airstrike potential. This is a reasonable one. This is a good double zap opportunity. Even if it includes myself, it's him first, twice. And there you go. If I'm getting a little bit more careless now with with auto travel, and I am, it's because now I have more tools to get away with it, one, and two, well, there's no two, that's the only reason. I have more power and tools to get away with it. I shouldn't be careless because, you know, when you're streaking especially, every little thing counts. But it's hard not to be, and I guess this is also perhaps a proof of the concept that it's okay. It's not like if you don't play perfectly optimally, you will lose every game. I'm pretty sure, yep, hounds can't go through deep water, so I have a perfect perch to blast him from here, followed by attracting him to come back. Now, snakes, at least these ones, can go through deep water, so it's going to be ridiculously important for me to break contact with one of them and positioning myself for effective contact with the other. I don't know about Uftebui, but I do know that these doggos are not long for this world. Okay, he left the scene. I'm going to take that guy down the old-fashioned way and zap him out. Okay, that little puddle of water is going to be a huge survival tool for me. If I'm running from these knolls, I just come here and come up this with deep water, and they can't give easy chase. So I'm actually perfectly happy to aggro them since I'm getting triple hits along this line while I do. Possibly enough to kill them outright before they hit, which is kind of what I'm going for. And you'll notice that I wouldn't have nearly this much spell power behind my zaps if I was doing anything other than focus training them. Like, my power is 68%. I'm far away from the cap on how strong this particular ability is going to get. Good enough. I am tempted to start test quaffing these potions. Worst case scenario is I test quaff a mutation. But honestly, potion of mutation, between having cure mutation effects involved and beneficial mutation effects as a potion effect involved, tend to help your character at points. I usually like to stockpile them for use when I need to save myself from bad mutation. I'm also going to break my own rule and read one or two of these scrolls in hopes of finding, yep, there it is, the ID scroll. I do not have any interest in a potion of flight when you consider that I have a ring of flight. Okay, it's worth taking one or two shots at the bear because I'm strong enough to kill it in one or two shots. And because it was sleeping. If it had been awake in the first shot, I wouldn't have taken the shot because if you miss, it approaches you a second time, even if you hit and it's down to half health, it's mauling you and preventing you from withdrawing from the fight. You really need to think of monsters in terms of attacks of opportunity to not die to them all the time. And the fact that they can take an attack of opportunity from an extra step away, so to speak, is very powerful. Always going for the double zaps, as I'm sure you've noticed. Here I'm going to back off to, because I think I can do more good with an airstrike. Easy airstrike choice against this one. Slightly harder against him, but I have a door, so if he gets too close, I close the door and he can't chase me down until I've renewed my resources. Ecumenical Temple on D6 is very late. I like to see the Temple on 4, I mean, who doesn't? Or 5 even. 6 means that there was only one more floor lower it could possibly have gone. This is an important object lesson. Do you stand your ground and fight, or do you run for your life? You could make the argument that you need to spot that priest and take it out, but let's say for argument's sake I can do that in 3 turns. That's enough for the necrophage and potentially the orc to both be on top of me. Now, by way of comparison, it can hit me for a modest amount of damage, right? 12, 15, let's call it 20. But the only ability here that's truly dangerous is if he gets a confuse off. He's 50-50 to get a confuse off. He is 1 in 3 to even attempt to get a confuse off. And I have a cure confuse button if I need it. Now, you could also argue that I should quaff invisibility here because I have 3 of them, and it will render me able to dodge all their attacks. However, there are 2 problems with that theory. Firstly, in my experience, invisibility somehow does not stop enemies from walking right up to you all the time. So I don't actually believe it would let me get away, necessarily. Second, I think that I have enough room and space here that I can do this without using any consumables. If I can save on consumables, then those consumables can be saved for times where they're even more valuable later on, which is obviously my way to go. So that's the plan. Let's there's no way to use the steam tiles to break LOS, and I do need to just go up and left or left and left. So we go up and left to maintain the maximal distance, and we're good. How do you pass this up? Shoot them both in a tunnel on my way out, and they're all blocking the line of sight of the priest, who's the sorcerer, who's the only reason I'm running in the first place. Yes, I'll take it. Now he can probably still blink or invisible, but that's fine. Like, I'm already at the door and ahead of him. I'm also going to take one last pot shot with airstrike to see if I can win this outright. I think I can win this. I think I just blast him and walk away. Yeah, it's fine. If that didn't work, I whip out any of these weapons, probably Holy Wrath or Whip of Venom, depending on if I'm going low damage, high reliability, or high damage to seal the deal. And I just seal the deal. This is a bad engage. It's not unwinnable, but it's a bad engage. Why take a bad engagement when you can just run away and take a good one later? I lose out on a little bit of God Piety or Gazog money, but those were never the most important commodities anyway. It's not like there's something I'm already looking to worship, buy, or invoke over. That was another mistake. You never test a new... I should have taken the time to go upstairs before reading those scrolls. 99 times out of 100 in this situation, it won't matter. But especially if you don't know all of your scrolls yet, I mean, what if that was vulnerability? And I thought, whatever, I'll just wait it out. And then the next thing I know, there's an enemy on me, and suddenly I can't just wait it out. Like, that kind of thing happens in Crow when you're careless. Airstrike I'm using more and more liberally because I've finally gotten above that 6-7 mana threshold where it represents more than half of my mana. Now it represents less than a third of my mana. I still want to get to 20, but I don't need that magic number to feel strong. Okay, where are we at? I think now we do attempt the temple, and we'll see how that lands for us. We can zap you back off until airstrike territory and airstrike for the finish. Eric strike. Oh, perfect airstrike target in perfect position for the same. Dagger of Speed is useful because you can get multiple stab attempts at once. I can't think of a lot of other reasons to use it over a good damaging brand, assuming the enemy is vulnerable to it. We've got Gozog Sogos, which is my favorite deity. Actually, we should have fully explored this just for completion's sake. We're going to go ahead and grab these needles, quiver them if they aren't already, and then we're going to search the dungeon for needles, and we do not find any. Excellent. And now we can just get sloppy on this floor because we've already taken out more than half of it. A random teleport rep probably lands us in our own safety. We're not expecting much of a challenge. Like, we should be fine. Good. What else you got? Groom. What else you got? We got some doggos, and that's it. Floor clear. D7. Nothing I've done, I hope, looks too challenging to do. It's literally just a matter of how you want to go about it. I mean, look at my skilling path, for Christ's sake. It's just very linear. I do think that I want to keep spellcasting on a wee bit longer just to finish fleshing out my mana pool. At this point, I do feel the need to point out, under normal circumstances, you would expect to have at least one book by now that had at least one spell that mattered to you. So, the fact that I have 4 or 5 aside, pardon me, I expect some value by now. And I think I am going to study Canine Familiar. And not now, but eventually put enough points into it that I can summon a doggo when I need one. Why not nowish? Let's trickle into summoning for a little while just to improve that. Scary spot to be. Curari is obviously quite dangerous. Let's figure out who has what. Short sword, Curari, poison, something else. So there's only one Curari wielder. Now's the time to do this and just smite him out of the game. Didn't work. He's still alive. It's him. We're going to take a second shot. Now we're in trouble. We can't possibly go down to 3 mana in this situation. This is a good time to use Swiftness. Did I still not memorize Swiftness after all this time? Oh, whoa. That was a huge mistake. Do we close the door here or not? I don't see the value. If I close the door, they all approach. He might get to open it right away. Let's say he doesn't. I walk here. He opens the door. Like, that's how it plays. So I think I just take a step away straight up and pray not to get Curari'd. It worked. He's chump blocked. I'm going to take the long route or the short route, depending how fast they swarm me. He's in the lead again, and he's got nobody on him, so we just kill him. Somehow it keeps not being enough. Zap him. That missed. Or miscasted. We need to kill him to make room for ourselves to get out. Okay, we're out. Now we're in the time where we take attacks of opportunity constantly. This is a mistake to do. I'm going to go invisible instead to prevent myself from being in that situation. You'll notice how I've said before, somehow being invisible does not seem to stop them from tracking my movements perfectly. But it does mean that they have -5 to hit, and I get to stab them. So it's still worth it for its value alone. We're going to pick up the Curari dart and quiver it. Since we're typically going to be using Zap at range instead of anything else, this Curari dart may well last us the whole game. Without any further ado, we're memorizing Swiftness. It's not my favorite getaway spell, but Blink is my favorite. But when you play for favorites, you lose. When you play for winning, you win. You win when you use what's available to you, instead of talk about how much better what wasn't available to you would have been. Okay, wipe them out and back off. Zaps later. First strike in the open air for the finisher. I don't know the damage on airstrike, but I swear it feels like it's something in the 1d6 or 1d8 times 8 territory. Ooh! I was so excited when I saw a bookshop, and I was like, we're good. Now, there is a manual of invocations here, so I'm going to mark this in my shopping list so that I can come back to it, because evocations is super valuable. You will get late-game evocables. They will have a lot of power behind them, yada yada. I'm just not there yet. No, I don't like this. I want to fight him where my airstrikes matter the most, so we're going to pull all the way back to here. And then we'll work on airstrike because we only have a few airstrikes effectively, 3 or 4. Just some thought we need to finish IDing as many of these as possible. Cure wounds is more likely to be something I have 2 of than 1 of, so we're going to work on those first. And okay, we found it the last attempt. Now we can test drink all these potions. There's going to be a lignify. There's going to be a there's going to be a degeneration in there. There's going to be a haste or a might or a not paralyzed. Lignify, I may have said. If not, then lignify. That's fine. There's going to be a handful of different effects. The only one that actually has a permanent problem to use is mutation. And unless I'm going to identify the last remaining one, the only penalty I have is losing 1 copy of each of these. Scrolls, on the other hand, I haven't found the blink scroll, and I would love to know which one is blink for a critical situation. I don't want to know badly enough to read all of them right now. Maybe I do. I'm gonna wait a little longer and figure out. Okay, this is bad. What we're gonna do here is close the door. Slimes can't get out through a closed door, and then we're gonna go anywhere else. Because I can think of very few reasons to take on slimes in their optimal habitat. This is a scary dungeon with something in the corner. Potion of flight alongside a skeleton. Series of skeletons. I don't resist corrosion. Oh, I do resist corrosion. That's a lucky find. We're gonna get out of here to the more fun parts of my murder machine. And then we're just gonna open fire. Double hits, please. Killing both enemies, please. Run for the hills, please. Using swiftness to try to, build an air gap and get away. We're going to use airstrike to take out 1 target. It didn't work because of a miscast, and apparently they can eat doors. I did not know that. Should have known that. They are slimes. They used to be able to eat items too, but that was removed from the game because of massive player hatred. Okay, we are now smarter than we used to be. We are still kicking it. There's a green slime somewhere lying around that we're going to have to deal with as well. Especially since we know that those are all traitors. Knockout. Am I setting summoning? I don't know why. I guess I wanted to make my wolves better. 10% is fine for my purposes. Triple hits, and taking damage. Taking damage is important here. I don't want him to become a super slime and take me out. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm trying to get into an area that has a potion I don't need on a floor I don't need to clear, so why am I doing it? Let's just get out of here. Clearly these slimes are positioned in a way that's making them hard to win against. No need to insist on fighting them. That Dagger of Holy Wrath is vastly superior to a War Axe that I'm using for the same purpose, simply because I'm more likely to hit with one than the other. Eradicate. Back off. Why are we backing off? Because this is feeling less and less like an individual orc or two and more like a pack of enemies. The less I have to stand my ground, the better I'll be. Good. Less good. I'll do that without any difficulty. Blastoise. And root for it. Full screen, knockout. Full screen, knockout. Zap, zap. Okay, now what is he about to hit me with? A freezing Morningstar +4. That could outright kill me. I could go with a resistance potion here to not take too much damage. I could go with a magic potion so that I can get my attack back online. But let's take a look at these wands. Paralyze 50-50. 50-50 shot that I just win outright. I can take those odds because I can take 1 hit. I can't take 2 hits as easily. I think I got this guy 50-50. Nope, 50-50. Got him. Now we switch over to a Holy Wrath weapon and kill him in 1 shot. Because that's a top tier stab when it counts. Now, if you wanted to be more risk averse than I was there, you could have gone invisible, right? And dramatically reduced his odds of hitting you. You could have not gotten into a pitched battle with 3 by running all the way back to the staircase the moment it was clear that I said this was a big pack. I didn't have to come back to here. I could have gone all the way back to here and picked them off one at a time. But now that I'm getting a little bit further along and I have a few more options, I feel like I'm a little bit more ahead of the power curve. If I was playing a truly weak class and race, like, I don't know, a mummy that's still vulnerable to fire or something, or maybe even a Barakim, then I would feel the need to be more cautious even. We probably need to flee here because we don't have poison resistance. We don't know what Lignify looks like. We don't know half of our scrolls. We could test drink a random potion and hope for the best. We could paralyze the leader. I think we Ice Blast 2. Then they kind of get into the here territory, then back into here and start chain zapping them with a heal or heal wounds if necessary. We can also call a Canine Familiar and use him to build an air gap. Let's try that one. Okay, well that miscast, so now our options are obvious. Quad hits, back up, triple hits, back up, triple hits with a bounce, double hits. We're losing a lot of ground here. What's the 50-50 on paralysis? Better than 50-50? Good, we got 1. We're not going to kill him. We're going to use that paralysis to build some distance, and then we're going to take the shots that we need from here so that we get both of them. This is just bad. There's no scenario in which I want to fight this guy. Not in this hallway with this little distance. If I can run away this way and escape, or run away this way and escape, that would be good. But this is into the unknown. This is into the known. This approaches him. This flees from him. I'm going to risk going this way. And yep, my natural octopode stealthiness got me out of it. Joseph is nearby. Oh no, that's a TSO message. Okay, we're good. Okay, now here I feel a lot more comfortable fighting him. Here, if we did fight, I have strong airstrikes to use against him. Teleport, other, dispersal, ground toss. Yeah, nothing I care about. What else you got? Nothing, nothing, nothing. So we're filling out the floor here. Ooh, we're going to have to remember to come back upstairs for the bookshop when we can. When we have that floor cleared out, we need to test each upstairs till we find it. Triple zap, and then airstrike. 6 out of 8 is not bad. Okay, I don't know what the obsession with the huge packs is on this floor, but I'm not a fan. Is this a +4 axe or something? +0, +0, +2, +2. So that's fine. It's not the worst. Are they shifting around? Does anybody have reach? None of them have reach. That's great. So we're going to swiftness and run away, and then we're going to punish them for approaching me with airstrikes. Instead of standing my ground with no armor while they pelt me. When it was all 4 of them at once, I had to be a little more circumspect, and I didn't have to be. We're going to keep both of these, just depending on the target. Again, I'm probably just going to drop all these weapons without using them by the time everything's done. This is not for when things go right, it's for when things go wrong. He's going to find me. He's got to find me. Wow, he didn't find me. He must be blind. Down the floor, please. I don't have to fight him yet, so I'm not going to. Yeah. That opener was good enough to take the risk on. Not really. Clearly, I played too quickly there and got punished. When you play too quickly and get punished, yes, feel bad about it. Yes, learn your lesson. But more than anything else, slow down. Think hard. Don't try to correct the mistake you made by playing fast by playing even faster. 10 damage, attack of opportunity. Yeah, it's worth it. I'll just back off. Okay. Do I stand my ground and fight while I'm invisible, or do I flee? This would be a great place for a mage to go, like Frozen Ramparts, Ozo's armor, etc. I'm not that, though, so there's no point thinking of what I'm not. 57% odds to paralyze the first one. Nope. Blast them all. Remember, I can handle 10 damage easily. I cannot handle 10 damage easily anymore, but they don't know where I am, so this is an opportunity to make more out of my defensive potion than I was going to get out of it. I am not invisible anymore. 50-50 that he's dead. I'll take that odds. That is an amazing war axe he's carrying if I could only get it for myself. I'm not going to stand my ground anymore. I don't have to. I've survived. I've thinned out their herd. I'm going to hide here in case Joseph shows up, and then I'm going to go down a different staircase. These are the only two staircases I get, though. How do you deal with this? I'm going to switch to a dagger of freezing and stab him. Then pull him upstairs and airstrike him. I'm going to read a couple of these. At least one of these has to be something I can make use of in the future. And anything I have two of, it's at least going to be potentially useful down the road. Okay, that was awful. I think we just back up. Yeah, and now we have to cure out of this. If you don't have quite enough to kill me outright, but it's not far. 50-50 that he's paralyzed. Good. He can block for me while I zap him and his ally out. And we'll airstrike. Okay, I was just hitting buttons, and next thing I know, there's a troll. Teleport right now. I'm still probably dead, but I'm going to heal for 20. Heal for 20. And there we go. I'm surrounded by deep water, so that's at least somewhat survivable. I've lost the staircase, but I've gained a good retreat. I'm going to clear out some of this underbrush just to potentially give myself a better airstrike in case I'm pushed back to this level of retreat. I ran out of all of my healing options because I was pushing buttons to walk away, and that troll appeared on screen, and I actually walked towards it for one turn. I wouldn't have done that on purpose, but here we are. Okay, this has been hollowed out just a little bit to give me slightly improved airstrikes. You know, in case I'm hiding in the middle of this water and I need an airstrike. I do not have heal wounds. I do have one curing, and that's all I've got. I don't have the ability to potion petition. I do. I have one potion petition. Okay, so let's go for it. There's only one way out, and it's through a hole in the ground. But I am flying, so I probably shouldn't get sucked into it. I haven't acquired any jewelry that I forgot to put on or anything, have I? No new hats. Okay. Seeing the orcish mines here is actually very bad. It means that there's probably a lot of orcs that are going to be in this area. Or worse, trolls. But I do have a safe haven to hide in. So, that's something. Let's... Here's that troll again, or a different one. We're gonna... If it's gaining ground, I'll use swiftness. If it's not gaining ground, I'll just walk away. That will avoid the minus swiftness status. Okay. It cannot deep water. That means I win. This is a really good spot to hide out and kill things from, so that's great. That bee is going to definitely catch up. It's a single bee. And this is laziness on my part that I didn't actually walk the bee all the way back to my hiding spot like I should have. Here, I want to get the double hits in. Now we're just going to run for it. Get into my hiding spot. Best kill hole I could have asked for. And just murder them all from range with Smite. Found a Fear Scroll. That is excellent. That Fear Scroll would have been very useful a little bit ago. Go back to our hiding spots. I want that bush dead so that it stops interrupting my airstrikes. We're just going to walk away and trust that something is going to find us. We are playing the ambush predator game where we hit back up, hit back up, hit back up. At this point, I think my over-tutorializing is done. I've gotten you using nothing but Zap and Airstrike and Swiftness, i.e. the starting book, this far. The only use I've made of all these other spells is one miscast. If I had found Stormform by now, I wouldn't have put any points into Transmutation, but I would know that that's where the game is going. And even and all of the points that I put into air are going to work in its favor, obviously. All right, zap once, back off. Kill, kill, kill. Ice Blast Wand is scary. War Axe is scary. Doesn't he have Harpoon or something like that that pulls me in? Yeah, he does. And Mark. So I'm going to want to fight him on my own terms. Namely, hugging the staircase with no other enemies nearby. I've just been enfeebled. So I'm going to take out the Buddha, and then I'm going to back off. Do I fight him here? If I get one shot and it doesn't kill him, then he has me in melee range with a +4 War Axe. So no, I don't. I don't fight him there. Okay, there's one enemy on this floor that I know of, and I just got Sentinels marked, but he didn't come for me. Now I have enough to just take this guy out, I think. Oh, is that a tunnel? No, it's not. Yeah, so I should be doing like 6. Why is it saying 3? Oh, I don't have vision on the square, so I don't know it's doing so much more. The Eternal Challenge. His odds of hitting me are probably fairly low. No, it's pretty good, actually. He's very accurate. Lose the game over this. Yeah. Use up the last invisibility so that he can't aim as well at me. And take advantage of the cheating AI that he somehow will know exactly where I am despite not being able to see me. I hate using up that last invisibility. I feel like it sets me back a lot, but I can't afford to lose the game over that either. We have doubles on Immolation. We have no doubles on any of this. Okay. Do we stab him with Holy? If he lets us. Perfect. Alright, back down we go. Check something new. A Berserker Rage Potion has its place. What does it take to paralyze his ass? 50-50. So we're gonna do with this one, I think, is blast him, blast him, blast him, close the door. Zap, 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 finish them off. Open, hide on the other side of the door, hide on the other side of the door, airstrike on the way in, blast, another one, airstrike, hide on the other side of the door, Hide on the other side of the door. Stealth, open the door again, figure out which way I need to hide. That guy cannot be stopped by a door, so we're gonna retreat back to here in the corner. Okay, we survived. It is D9. It's allowed for enemies to be this hard on D9. I'm not shocked to see strong enemies on D9. Knowing how to pick them off and fight them, knowing how to always wait out or position yourself to get a good fight is kind of your only token here. Come this way. I want you to fight me. Oh, never mind. What is your deal, Jessica? Very, very, very good stuff. Kills me easily, and I have low mana. Do I have any tools that are effective against you? Not really. Definitely not really. This is a good chance to run away. Ooh. Well, okay then. MP plus 9 might be exactly the buff that I'm looking for right now. Normally, I would have switched over to a defensive ability as well. I got sidetracked by trying to put points into summoning, but let's definitely turn on one of these two defenses now that our area is getting closer to 15, which is kind of my mental benchmark for powerful. I would say fighting probably buys me more than dodging, but I don't know what I'm basing that on. Yeah, let's trust our instinct here that fighting buys me more than dodging. At the very least, it's easier to train, so there's that. Then, meanwhile, this contamination weapon means that I can't take it off easily, I think. But at the same time, it's a RC+++, MP plus 9, so I won't be taking it off anytime soon. It does lock me into not using certain things for a while, but I can also use cancellation to remove it eventually with more safety. And giving me RC+++ is going to give me a lot of safety against certain things that otherwise I wouldn't have any. Okay, this is a rather safe position to attack from. Now I can get away. The extra MP is a godsend. I really need to be able to do more shots than I've been getting. Multi-zaps, multi-targets, swift, mist, and run. Close the door, wait for them to come around the corner and knock them out. Wait for them to come around the corner and knock them out. Zaps. Harold is still at large on this floor, but other than that, and Erica. Harold and Erica are both at large on this floor. Harold 14. Okay, we're getting there. Oh, yeah, shouldn't have. This is the perfect spot for me to fight him. I have multiple retreat options if I need them. Can he be paralyzed? No, not really. It's not going to happen. But you know what he can be is curaried. Yeah, as long as Erica doesn't interrupt us, I'm okay with all of this. This would be a decent time to Berserker and just pummel him to death with this axe. Okay, I was wrong. I didn't get nearly enough mileage out of that. Fear to buy me some space. And okay, he didn't stay feared nearly long enough. So now it's all or nothing. Either the airstrike kills him or he kills me. It's worse than that. The airstrike didn't kill him, but that did. I'm marked. I can't avoid it. I need to recover immediately. I'm going to use Ambrosia to get back health before I'm found. Okay, I'm gonna get found. That's gonna happen. There she is, as predicted. Now we can blast her apart. Whew. You know that instinct of mine that fighting was going to be the thing I needed for the HP? There you go. There's the instinct. And shockingly enough, that is the floor clear. I'll take that. So ditch this other stuff that, without better reason, is never going to get used. Still have almost no jewelry to show for my efforts. There was a shop somewhere. Oh, we never found the shop. We need to find a shop. One of these upstairs ought to do it. There we go. See what's available. In spider form, Starburst Fireball Ignition. If I use that as my secondary school, I have some options. No. Nah. Nah. Ozokubu's Refrigeration is an AoE spell. Kills everything on the screen with ice. Ensorcelled Hibernation paralyzes a target with ice. Ozo's armor gives me AC based on my ice. I could either go with ice or poison, based on what I'm seeing here. Olgrip's Toxic Radiance is a much lower skill investment at level 4 compared to level 7. Will take benefit by the time I reach Lair, but it won't be effective against cane toads, hydras, or ice beasts, which there are plenty of. Not loving either of these options. Let's do this. Let's cap Air Magic at 15 until such time as I find something better, and transition back over to general spellcasting until I find enough to determine which path I'm going to take. Then we'll keep exploring the dungeon, just like we have been. Alright. In the meantime, I need a quick BRB, make sure that all's okay over here. All right, back. Let's keep rolling. I mean, what else is there to do, right? It's very tempting to buy into one of these spell schools right now, but I don't actually know what I want to do well enough to know which one of those is to go for. And I don't feel like it's an obvious choice which way I want to go either. If I knew for sure, I could full tilt over, but as it is, I already am well trained in one thing, enough that I'm hoping it's sufficient. Did we ever pick up our Curari Dart again? Oh, it got used up against Harold. Good thing, too, he desperately needed to be. Yeah, this would be where OTR would be very helpful, or even Mephitic Cloud, or literally anything at all that could AoE more efficiently than a Zap can. Cure. Curing was insufficient. Cure again. And now what can we do? Paralyze. Now that we're out, take some pot shot before we actually leave. The Zog Confusion pays off. Kill 1, kill 2, kill 3, kill 4. We have no more confusion. We have no more curing. We haven't found any. I think this is the time to summon a shop, to be honest. I need jewelry or books. I'll take either or. Well, we got books. Nope. Maybe and nope. Hello, puppet. 99% fail, but storm form and statue form in one place. Very good stuff. Decent. MCC and Lightning Spire. That's what we need. Okay, we're in business. If we can buy this and this, then all we need is transmutations and electricity to win the game. So we can ditch that now. We have a better option. Trickle on a transmutation, focus on this. We already got some baseline summoning, so Lightning Spire should be available. All we need now is money. Best place I know to get money is the Orcish Mines, and depending on how lucky we are, we might walk in there and be okay. We are not that lucky. We are damn sure not as lucky as I need to be to just walk in here and be okay. But we have a really good axe, so I'm not ready to give up just yet. The crossbow, right? You are standing in the worst spot to be airstruck from, so maybe I'm okay. Maybe I run. Cole, I'm going to deal with you immediately, and you shortly thereafter. This is a high risk, high reward territory. Let's drink a potion preemptively, see what I get, and then act accordingly. Okay, do we die immediately? No, then they die. Also a vampiric axe, so that's beneficial. But if I recall correctly, there was an ogre there, so I think we're kind of locked out from doing more. Did we save enough money? We got like no money out of that. We got like no money out of that. We need another 200 to get what I want. I think rather than risk life and limb here, let's just go down a floor and start. Oh crap! Of all the times. Okay. Well, this is a decent spot to fight something I can't see in. We're gonna summon an ally to fill up the remaining space. It's not attacking us. That's good. Summon an ally who immediately bites it. Great. Why didn't I think of this, that he was going to die that fast? I don't want to die here. I really don't want to die here. I think I potion petition, give up everything and just survive. Heal wounds, curing magic is the best way to go for just surviving purposes. And then what do I do next to not die? I keep trying to paralyze him, probably. I don't know how strong an unseen horror is against that. Let's figure that out. It has 1 pip of will, so presumably not that strong against it. Ice Blast would be suicidal. I really do think paralysis is my best bet. Nope. Okay, Ambrosia will not heal me fast enough. I've got the magic. I don't have the damage. Not in a hallway where I've got 1 tile to work with. I don't have enough anything. I'm dead. Dead. No, we'll do Ambrosia. Dead. So frustrating. But I did it to myself. I thought that my summon would be enough to keep him at bay, and it wasn't. I could have read an unknown scroll. There was a shot at that working, but I didn't think about it. Let's It's a shame too, because I found everything I needed to win with. Instead, I killed my streak. But yeah, I hope this was useful to y'all to like see how you can approach things systematically and not concede a good start to something minor. Damn, it was such an unnecessary death to myself. I knew I was being attacked by something unseen, and I locked myself in the little cubby hole to be safe, and then I didn't think it through that I don't have the tools to win in that cubby hole. Such a wasted potential. Lightning Spire would have killed everything in the lair, and then I would have just taken the Lightning Spire win and trained up to Stormform. And this, by the way, is no rings acquired, no benefits, no spells other than the starting spells. In fact, the only spell other than the starting spells I used actually got me killed. So let that be clarity why Air Elementalist has every tool you need to get to the lair, and even most of the way through the lair, assuming that you get even a modest amount of luck. It's all about how you play it and how much skill you bring to the game. Thank you all for watching. I'm saddened that this run had to end. I will see you guys next time.